like to call to order the March 8th, 2022 Ulbridge Township Council meeting. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Please remain standing for our moment of silence and our prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment to remember those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and for all of those who are suffering now in this world, especially in Ukraine. A moment of silence, please. Mr. Pasquitti, our prayer, please.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear your voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that we have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
Council President, I just want to inform the council and public that Mayor is currently attending the award for our Silver Lining Center in Atlantic City, so he won't be here.
Yes, thank you very much.
This meeting's been held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on April 5th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. Roll call. Mr. De Palma?
Here.
Mr. Desai? Mr. Garcia?
Present.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli? Here. Let the record reflect that Mr. Murphy is absent. Mr. Pasquitti?
Here.
Ms. Walker? Here. And Council President Sohar?
Here. Okay, good evening and welcome everyone to the meeting. We will start first by filling a vacancy for the Housing Authority.
I'd like to make a motion and an appointment.
You have a resolution, right, for it? Subject to the
Sorry,
resolution.
Madam Clerk. We should have a resolution memorializing these appointments so that we don't get into the issues that we've been having relative to terms. Anytime you have appointments, you need documentation, and we're finding that some of the documentation that we have is not correct. And I think maybe sometimes because when you do these things orally, it presents an issue. When does the Housing Authority next meet?
Next week.
All right. Well, if I had known, I could have drafted something. So if you do the appointment, let's make sure at the next meeting we memorialize it by a formal resolution so the term's spelled out, everybody's on the same page. It seems as if that's been an issue, and we need to resolve it. So with that caveat.
So with the having us do the resolution at the following meeting, correct? Okay. All right, so Mr. Pasquitti?
Yes, I'd like to appoint Catherine Fernbach.
Second it.
Okay, so Mr.
I'm sorry. And what's the length of the term?
It's 5 years.
And when does it start? Do we know?
That started it's until 2028.
I'm sorry?
It's 2027, I'm sorry, 5 years.
So it's a 5-year term.
Yep.
That commences in 2022?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was already expired.
No, it expired this year, didn't it, Tony?
It expired this year.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, let's make sure it expired this year because we indicated that it expired last year. But all right, let's make sure we find out the specific details because if it was one that had expired prior to this year, it would be for the unexpired term, right? So
Right, rather than the
necessarily
full.
be 5 years. That's
Right. And there is a difference. Okay. All right, so a motion was made by Mr. Pescetti and a second by Dr. Greenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Desai? Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Pescetti?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
And Council President Sohar?
Yes. Okay, next will be our bill list. Mrs. Walker?
Accounts payable, March 8th, 2022, $1,696,431.64. Payroll, March 4th, 2022, $1,092,581.01. Payroll overtime, March 4th, 2022, $32,869.39.
Move it.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Pescetti made a motion, second?
Second.
Second, Mr. De Palma. Mr. Shaw, can we have a breakdown, please?
Yes, Council President, thank you. As Councilwoman Walker indicated, the total overtime for this pay period was $32,869.39. There was not really any uptick in any other department. For the police department, for the sworn officer overtime, total overtime was $20,823.72. Deduct grants, $2,959.06. Deduct ETO, $3,339.88. Total net overtime for this pay period was $14,524.78, representing 226 man and women hours. There were 2 officers injured on duty or light duty. That concludes my report, Council President.
Okay, thank you very much. Please.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, next will be public hearing and/or adoption amendment for those ordinances for second reading. H1, hearing on the release of a performance bond for George Solokolovsky for block number 5000.17, lot 1, application number 11-15Z. Good evening, Mrs. Shapiro.
Good evening, Council President, Council. This application, well, before I start, let me just make sure that there's somebody in the audience here for
Right.
this application.
The gentleman. No? Okay. Yeah.
This application was in front of the zoning board in 2015 for a property located at 330 Ernston Road, which is also Middlesex County Route 673. It's adjacent to Ernst Memorial Cemetery, and it contains approximately 15,000 square feet of property. The applicant intended, with his application in front of the zoning board, to be granted a D1 use variance to switch the home, the residential home, to a medical use. He did require C variances and some design waivers. That was granted as part of this application to the applicant, and he did start construction. Unfortunately, the applicant has requested that we release the bonds because he no longer wants to go further with the medical office use. Instead, he would like to revert it back to the residential use on the property for his own reasons. When we went out to the site and we took a look at what was constructed, there was an addition onto the home, 567 square feet, which had been constructed, but the interior and exterior of the home are not complete. Some of the site work that was constructed on site was curbing the parking lot and a small retaining wall and some fencing, but the ADA compliance isn't there, and some other site work such as landscaping and lighting. The applicant does want to vacate and wants to release his performance guarantee, wants to revert back. I think what's important to note, especially to the applicant, is if he does abandon the use variance after 1 year, he has to then revert the property to a residential use, and he has to abide, if he'd like to live in it, he has to abide by that R6 zone, which he's currently zoned in. So the performance guarantee that was posted on the project was $113,292, of which in bond form was $101,962.80. Cash deposit was $11,329.20. We ask, as part of the release, one of the conditions be that the payment of all outstanding escrows be submitted, and then a condition in the resolution memorializing the release of the performance guarantee that abandons the use variance that was granted 1 year post the release of this bond. Should the council act favorably, I believe this is Mr. Sokolovsky. And so, should the council have any questions for him, he is available.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone on the council? And of course, naturally, our attorney.
Mr. Sokolovsky, were you the applicant? You can sit down. Were you the original applicant?
Yes.
You were. Even my children and wife don't stand up when I dance.
Like them to.
They just throw things at me. So it wasn't a corporation LLC, it was just you individually. Is that correct?
Individual.
Okay. So, and I agree with Nicole. So you understand that you're abandoning, by abandoning, or you're proposing to abandon the use variance for the office, that from tonight, if you don't use the office or you don't finish that, then that use variance is no longer in effect. And that if you wanted to, you have an office use, you'd have to go back to the zoning board in order for use variance again, correct? All right, and then the other thing would be is that to the extent that you, as Ms. Shapiro had indicated, that you want to have a residential use, it's zoned R6. Nicole, it seems, will he need any bulk variances for the R6 use if he?
I don't think so, because the addition was towards the rear of the property. He would, though, need to remove some pavement because he has a parking lot basically in his backyard, which contains approximately 13 spaces.
Right. So, are you aware of what those requirements are in order to meet that? So I think as an additional condition that we ensure that the resolution that he meets will state that as well, that to the extent that a residential use is going to be continued there, that all R6 bulk standards are required to be met.
Yes.
Right? And that, what's there now? The building's, it's vacant?
The building facade is not complete, and then the interior is just a shell.
Right, so then he would need a CO, right, if he would make it a house?
Yes.
So that the CO won't be issued unless and until those conditions for residential use in the R6 zone are met.
I understand.
Okay, you accept those conditions as well?
Yes, I
All right,
understand.
okay.
Will there be any addition to the existing resident?
No, there was an addition of 567 square feet that was done as part of the construction. That has been completed, but the interior of the building is not complete.
And footprint will be the same?
It should be, yes. He would have to then come into the building department and submit a building permit so that he could
Yes.
finish the interior of the building. And for him to get a CO, part of that, CO process does involve engineering review.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Any council member?
I'll move the application with the conditions stated by engineer to approve.
Okay, you also have to open it up to the public. So if there's anyone here in the public that wishes to be heard on this particular item, you can come forward now. Seeing no one, I will close the public portion, and Mr. Desai has made a motion.
Approve with the conditions stated in memo by.
Of course.
I'll
Anyone
second.
for a second?
I'll second.
And council, Mr. Desai, correct? The ones added by council as well, correct?
Okay, and the second was Mr. Piscitty.
Yes.
Mr. Desai?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes. Okay. We're all good to go. Thank you very much. And you have a good evening. Okay, next will be H2, which is a hearing on the reduction of a performance bond for the Oaks at Glenwood, Phase 1E, for Block 7000 and 6303, lots 3.11, 1.11, 7:3.11, application number 20-01P. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a mouthful.
Thank you, Council President. This application is part of, or this release or reduction of the performance guarantee is part of the Oaks One residential development that was part of a general development plan from 2001. Ultimately, that residential component of that project received preliminary and final approval in February of 2005 to construct 1,384 units, of which the majority of which was multifamily, and then there were single-family homes of 256 units with approximately 600,000 square feet of commercial space that was retail, commercial, and office space. This reduction of the performance guarantee really has to do with the infrastructure that the developer has constructed. So he has currently constructed Schulmeister Road, a portion of Portaluca Drive, and Astor Circle. So it includes really what's in the right-of-way, sidewalk, curbing, the pavement, the storm sewers that are underneath it. Those are the bonded items that were included in here. This was a little bit different when we had bonded it. We had a quite extensive developers agreement on this project. So he was permitted to post a reduced bond in the form of $5 million. And then that was all in bond, no cash portion. He is under, he has completed more than 70%. So we would recommend the reduction of up to 70%, leaving in hold a bond of $1.5 million. We have an inspector on site, environmental resolution, Charles Potts, who's been on site almost daily and does give us reports back and does have a punch list. And he has verified that the reduction is justified, basically. And I just want to recognize that the applicant's attorney is sitting next to me, Mr. Bob McGowan, if he would like to say a few words.
Good evening, Madam Council President and members of council. Would ask for a favorable vote on this.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions on my left?
One question. I saw they have done some opening between Schumeister and Jack Brown on southbound side. Where they going to bring it there?
There is a small driveway area that
Yes.
is between Jake Brown, and you see that pavement area and that driveway in and out. That is for the commercial component that's going to come down later in the road. That requirement to build that area was part of the DOT permit for Route 9. So there was a shoulder widening, there was the part of Schulmeister, there was the jug handle at Schulmeister, all on Route 9 South that had to do with a DOT permit. That was done in about, I want to say, 2016, 2017, that little bump out. Not part of this bond reduction.
Anyone else on my left have a question for Mrs. Shapiro? No? On my right? Okay, seeing no hands, I will open it up to the public. If anyone in the public wishes to be heard on this bond release, please come forward now. Seeing no one, I will close public portion, and I will ask for a motion. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so Mr. Desai made the motion with the engineer's approval, and Mrs. Walker made the second.
Madam President, I'm sorry, just one condition, Mr. McGowan, is reductions contingent upon payment of all outstanding escrows, if there are any at the time. So you're okay with that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. De Palma.
Yes.
Mr. Desai. Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much. Have a good evening. Next will be ordinance for first reading, FR1, ordinance of the Township of Ulbridge, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 10, Traffic, Section 10-19.7B of the Code of the Township of Ulbridge. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. De Palma for first reading.
Roll call, Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai, Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes. Next will be our consent agenda. I will ask for a motion and a second, and then we'll call for separations.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. Pescetti, and now for separations.
Mr. De Palma,
C8.
Mr. Desai, Mr. Garcia,
I have none, thanks.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
This time, thank you.
Mr. Pescitti,
No separations, thank you.
Ms. Walker,
No, thank you.
Council President Sohar.
No, thank you. Okay, so we'll take the vote on the balance.
Roll call for all items except for item C8. Roll call, Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes. Okay, and the vote is? I'm sorry? 8, 9,
Right.
okay, because sometimes they yes. He's gonna separate it, but we just give us a total of who voted for what, remember last week?
Oh, right. So it was a unanimous vote of all members present.
Thank you. Next will be C8, Mr. De Palma.
Yes. So just separating this, as I try to separate as much as we can to let residents know what's going on. This particular item is the shared services agreement between Ulbridge and Marlborough for the use of the Marlborough Swim Club. Just so residents, summer's coming, it'll be here sooner than folks think. So those who don't have pools, those that want to join a pool club that's run by the township, because we don't have our own township pool, we do have a shared services agreement with Marlborough. The family rate is $640, individuals $336, and seniors are $184. Just so folks are aware that they know the different things that are getting offered, some of the shared services agreements that we have. That's all I had.
Okay, so you'll make a motion for it then?
I'll move it.
Okay. Okay, moved by Mr. De Palma, second by Mrs. Walker.
Roll call, Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
That was unanimous vote of all members present.
Okay. All right, next will be our discussion ordinance, flower sale requirement. Okay, Mrs. Hutchinson?
So the clerk's office had received an application for a gentleman who has been selling flowers from his home for a number of years. When we went to review the ordinance states that you can't be within 2,000 feet of a florist to sell flowers. So that was his first condition that he didn't meet in the ordinance. Plus, he has requested to sell flowers for a 2-week period before Easter, when the ordinance states that we only allow it for a maximum of 48 hours before the national holiday. So I'm not sure how council wants to handle it. I mean, we can approve him with the stipulation that going forward, the ordinance is under review, and may cause an issue the next time he comes to renew. Whatever the council feels is appropriate.
If I could, so this is a recurring applicant. And so I know this was an issue that the prior clerk had brought up, and I had responded, with respect to what the ordinance said. Now, it seemed as if, notwithstanding what the ordinance says, a permit had been issued. I don't have it for a number of years. So I think, given that parameter, I think, and we've done it. You can vote for the exception, but what I think you need to do is consider why they picked 48 hours. I don't know, because it leaves 2 days before the event to sell flowers, right? So that doesn't really make too much sense, but I don't know when that was done. So what I had advised was, with respect to this situation, this time, because it's been issued in the past, that's fine. You can vote to waive those provisions. But I thought that the florist shop popped up after the fact. Isn't that the case?
Exactly right.
Right? So he had been there at the florist shop. So I think you need to, I think the focus is 48 hours reasonable. To me, it seems, why would somebody go through the effort of doing that, right? And some people do it to raise, for fundraisers, right? I mean, I know a lot of not-for-profits sell flowers and stuff like that. That's my situation. So I think we need to look at that 48 hours and figure out where you may want it to do. And then the idea of the sale of the florist shop, it's one thing if it was there and then the person comes, and another thing where it's a pre-existing situation and somebody comes up as well. So I think those are the two areas that you probably need to focus on and make some provision for, to address it. So that would be my recommendation.
How many years has this person been selling?
I don't know. I know it's been a while.
Over 20 years. Right. This is the one on Route 9, right?
Yeah.
I think that 48 hours is unreasonable, and I agree, he's been there for years and years and years. I think we should maybe allow it this time. And then
You can, yeah, and you can, to the extent that there was, someone had been doing it for a number of years, can certainly, to the extent that a flower shop were to come in, like in this instance, to the extent that you've been in a location, you're grandfathered, to the extent that a flower shop happened to open up, the next year, because, you're really competing with the flower shop for 2 weeks. I don't think so, right? And so that kind of makes sense. So I'm thinking as far as a time period, I think they like to say at least 2 weekends, so 2 weeks before the event would sort of make sense. And then you can still have the limitation of 2,000 feet of a floral shop, but to the extent that you had a location and you were there before any flower shop, then that would be an exception to that type of. I think then it's fair. But
So we can write that into the ordinance and change it?
not today.
No, I'm not saying today.
But yes, I can.
It's a discussion, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you would think that the 2 weekends before. I don't. I mean, that's just me, but.
I don't know how many weekends before they start selling for Easter.
Christmas, they do.
So,
Christmas, yeah, I don't know. Christmas, that might be longer.
so this would be for more than just flowers, though,
Yeah.
right? So I know we've had discussions about this.
Well, it's holiday sale, flowers and plants.
with the before 4th of July, and
It's only flowers
Leaf
and plants.
covers, right?
They usually do Christmas and Easter. They make wreaths, they make baskets, things like that. If you have 48 hours, just
Oh.
as you said, the attorney said, who wants to go through all that work?
no, and I agree. I think we need to
There's quite an investment.
look at 48 hours is. I mean, most people are. A lot of people are probably buying stuff right before, but the grave blankets and stuff like that.
Things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to look at it. It's probably an older ordinance for a number of reasons why it's that way, and change it. And even the proximity to the flower shop might have to look at that. Like you said, even if it's pre-existing or existing or whatever it might be, and build in something that allows someone like this, or even anybody that has something that's been going on for X amount of years to continue to do so.
I mean, or you can just eliminate it.
Yeah.
You can eliminate that condition.
I mean, we can do some investigation, how long they've been there, how long they're open, how long you need for the time for preparation and everything. Because they incur quite a cost, for that limited time. They wouldn't be able to recuperate everything that they have to, spend. And these are residents who have been here for a very long time, and it's a known place, it's repetitive business. And I really think that we have to be reasonable with this and definitely, allow the permit. I mean, they've come every year. It's not like they've opened a booth and not tried to get permit and not be compliant with the town. And so I think we have to investigate how we want to change this, but I would certainly be in favor of granting them permit and letting them have their floral market this year again, too.
All right, so we can take a vote on that, but
Yeah.
let's, while we're
Something
on the
so-
topic, and we were supposed to do it last year, I'd like to do amendment for the ordinance. So if you want more than 2 weeks before the holiday, let me know. I mean, I'm starting at 2 weeks, and then
Maybe
I
we could
can
find
write
out how long they
language.
did the permits previous. Yeah, we'll find out how many
They've
weeks.
asked for 2 weeks.
They asked for 2?
They asked for 2 weeks to the, before the event.
I'm just, and the only reason I picked up 2 weeks is because I just know, where I live. Typically, you see the signs like for volunteer fire companies do flower sales, and it's usually the 2 weekends before the event. So
Christmas trees are usually earlier though, right? Not just 2 weeks.
Yeah, Christmas,
Mark.
Christmas trees start like the day after Thanksgiving.
well, that's let's not get into the Amazons and the world and stuff like that.
Oh no, I mean, if you drive around, I mean, I would say the weekend after Thanksgiving, the tree stands are up and they're selling Christmas trees.
I mean the live ones, because they do live stuff there, right?
Yeah. Mrs.
I
Desai, you
also
had
think,
something too?
Mark, I need a
when the
clarification.
floors moved to that area, she was aware that they sell flowers there.
No, that's my point. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm
She
saying
was-
is
yeah.
that if somebody's at a location, they've been there for a number of years, if you want to keep the provision with respect to a floral shop, but to the extent that a floral shop comes up after the fact, and somebody's been there, same location, I don't think that person who had the permit should be penalized, right? But if it's a situation where someone happens to pick a location because it is across from a floral shop, because there's that thought
traffic
process
already.
to, right, exactly.
Just-
And I don't know the floral shop should penalize, right? I mean, so I think that's fair.
And we have to have common sense too. And we do have to have common sense, like you said. It
Yes,
can't just be-
Yep.
I just want to reconfirm, this particular ordinance is before us for one resident in Lawrence Harbor. So if we adopt today this change in this particular ordinance, in future, if somebody has something like this, they don't have to come to us. Clerk can approve.
Well, right, that's the idea, right? I think, there's an inequity here because the fact that this particular applicant had been for, I don't know how long, for a number of years, was issued the permit, even though not so much the floral shop, but the 48-hour rule was in place. So it was being ignored. It shouldn't have been ignored, but it was, right?
Yeah, because it will be a permanent thing, that
Yeah.
anybody comes this kind of condition, clerk can just grant that permit.
So what we're trying, so knowing that, it's like anything else, right? So knowing that issue exists, let's correct it so that it's been brought to the council's attention to make the changes that are reasonable, so everyone's on the same page.
I want to simplify it because I don't want people to come all the time.
Yeah, well, right. I think, look, it's a unique circumstance. I agree, believe me. Nobody more than me it says what it says, and I always say that's what it says and enforce it. Because I am a strict constructionist, right? I don't believe the Constitution's a fluid document.
I agree. The 2,000 feet also, it's as a bird flies, 2,000 feet, because the location of that flower, the people that are selling the flowers and wreath covers, it's more than 2,000 feet. You have to go all the way around to get to the other side.
Well,
To the,
then don't worry about the 2,000 foot.
it's probably a quarter mile by the time you go all the way around.
One's on North Town,
Usually,
one's on South.
if you measure it, and that's the other thing. The problem with when you have those types of restrictions on, well, where do you measure it from? Do you measure it from the property that they're on the property line, or do you measure it from
The distance
the way
that
I
you
would
have
have
to
drafted
travel.
it from, or do you measure it from where they're actually selling it, right? I mean,
And the distance you have to travel to get to the other location.
well, but my point is that let's say you happen to pick a large block, a lot, right? Now that lot's so big, you go to the end of the lot line, and if you measure it from where you're selling it to the next place, it may be within 2,000 feet, but, so, when you start picking out distances,
Well, you should define the distance as a person have to travel to get to the other location. That should be your distance. Because if you're in a car and you're going to go all the way around to the other business, it's a quarter mile.
yeah, I know, but I don't know how do you measure that? I mean, usually it's one lot to the next lot, right? And however that is. Like when in zoning, when you do a 200-foot list, or planning, you take the lot line, and then you just go out 200 feet in all directions from the end of the lot line. That's really the only way you could do that, and we can do that. We can do that measurement here because we create lists all the time. I mean, where if you know the lot, you just go out 2,000 feet, you do a circle, and then you know where it is. That's really how you would measure it.
Yeah, it's unreasonable to measure like
Well, then maybe you increase the distance, right? Instead of 2,000 feet, it's 5,000 feet.
you increase the distance.
All right, well,
Because if you have to drive a quarter mile to get to the other location, even though it's right across the highway, I mean, then people aren't going to walk across the highway to the other business.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but you can't make those assumptions. Maybe some people do. I don't know. I think you have to create a standard that can be measured, right? You can't say, well, if people drive, people can drive different ways. So you need to create a standard that can be enforced.
reasonable.
So that's the idea. So you make it reasonable and you create a standard that can be enforced. And the only way you can create those standards is again, I liken it to the way when the clerk's, the assessor's office creates a 200-foot list for planning applications.
Okay.
So instead of a 200-foot list, it's a 2,000-foot list, or however many feet you want. Look,
Well, how
whatever you
about-
guys want. You're
right,
counsel.
how
I'm just
about-
the attorney.
All right. How about this? Why don't you draft it that way? And now that you've gotten a sense from us, and then we can look at it. And if anyone has any questions for our attorney, then they can contact him.
Sounds good to me.
All right?
So why don't we take a vote on the application?
Right, I was going to say, but now let's just take a vote on the application. Do we have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker and second by Dr. Greenberg.
Roll call, Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes,
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes. Okay, all right, so it was a unanimous vote, correct?
Unanimous vote
Okay.
of all members present.
Very good. Next will be a report of the Township Clerk.
So the only thing I had was to remind everybody about the special election for Ward 4 is going to be held on March 22nd at the 4 school locations for anybody who was involved in the Ward 4 election.
Okay, so the polls will be the same as they usually are when you go to vote in a normal election, correct?
Yes, ma'am?
And the hours will be the same?
Yes, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, very
is
good.
there any early voting?
No,
Okay, thank you.
no early voting. Okay, anyone have any? Okay, I'd like a motion to accept the clerk's report.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Pescitti.
Roll call, Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli. Yes. Mr. Pescitti,
Yes,
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes. Thank you. Next will be Township Attorney report.
Nothing to report, Madam President.
Okay, and next will be Administrative Report, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Council President. Administrative report for March 8, 2022. Item 1, Ulbridge Golf Course at Rose Lambertson Farm. Ulbridge Township contractors are beginning to mobilize for the construction of the proposed Ulbridge Golf Course at Rose Lambertson located on the north and south side of Lambertson Road. The project will include construction of an 18-hole golf course with the practice range, short game practice area, practice putting green, and mini golf area. There will also be 6,000 square foot of clubhouse with a parking lot containing 204 parking spaces and 5,000 square foot maintenance building with a parking lot containing 10 parking spaces, 8 bio-retention basins, 6 wet ponds for stormwater management purposes throughout the golf course, lighting and landscaping. Visit oldbridge.com/projects to view a plan for the project. Item number 2, Ulbridge Manawan Road, Bridge 3B40 over Lake Lafrette's. Public meeting number 2. The County of Middlesex and County of Monmouth will be hosting a virtual public information center meeting to inform local residents, organizations, businesses, and the general public of the local concept development study for the Ulbridge Manawan Road, County Road 516, Bridge 3B40 over Lake Lafrette's on Wednesday, March 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. The purpose of the Public Information Center meeting is to inform public of the purpose and need statement and to solicit public input and comments on conceptual alternatives and preliminary preferred alternatives for bridge improvements. Visit oldbridge.com/projects for more information on how to attend the virtual meeting. Item number 3, JCP&L Assistant Program set to expire on March 15. JCP&L, a subsidiary of First Energy Corporation, is urging residential customer experiencing financial hardship to contact the company as soon as possible to establish an affordable payment arrangement or obtain assistance before the winter utility disconnection moratorium is lifted and shut off for non-payment resumes beginning March 15th. To apply or learn more about other JCP&L programs, visit firstenergy.com/billassist or call 1-800-662-3115 to speak with a customer service representative Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Item number 4, Planning and Zoning. All Planning Zoning Board meeting will be held in person in the municipal courtroom from March 15 onwards. Item number 5, paper shredding event. The Middlesex County paper shred event will be held at Ulbridge Municipal Complex on Saturday, March 26 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please visit oldbridge.com/recycling for full detail. Item number 6, Mayor Henry's Clean Team. Mayor Henry's Clean Team will kick off program on Saturday, April 2nd. Any nonprofit organization who are interested in participating should contact the Clean Community Coordinator at 732-721-5600 extension 6107 or by emailing recycling@oldbridge.com. Item number 7, Spring Leaf Collection. Spring leaf pickup will begin Monday, April 11th in all wards. Please visit oldbridge.com/recycling for the full schedule. That concludes my report, Council President.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Shah? Anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg-Belli, second by Mr. DePalma.
Roll call, Mr. DePalma?
Yes.
Mr. Desai? Mr. Desai? Move the report. Yes. Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes.
Mr. Pasquini?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes. So that was unanimous, correct?
Unanimous of all members present.
All right, very good. Next will be our public comment on any subject matter for a maximum period of 3 minutes and the following.
The Public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring the council's attention their concerns or comments. This section is open for any topic or items in the consent agenda in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12A and the Ulbridge Rules of Council. The council asks the public to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. Only one member of the public should approach to speak to council at a time. The council will respect the public's time by refraining any comment until the speaker is finished with their allotted time. It should be further noted that public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. If a member of the public has questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the corresponding department's office during regular business hours. The township clerk will regulate the time during the comment portion of our meeting.
Okay, all right. So is there anyone in the public who wishes to come forward and be heard this evening? Sir? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. You remember me, I'm Charlie Cradaville. Tonight I'm here as the editor of New Brunswick Today, a community newspaper available online at newbrunswicktoday.com. You might know that I'm very concerned about the rewarding process that took place in December and January here in Ulbridge, and I did ask a number of questions of Remington and Vernick engineers. They were part of the rewarding, and many of my questions still haven't been answered. It's my understanding the township also has raised some issues about the final map that was approved on January 14th and submitted to the Secretary of State. I've been told by the clerk's office that there were, quote, a number of errors in that map. And I'd like, if someone can please clarify what errors the township is referring to. Additionally, it's come to my attention that there were actually 3 alternative maps considered by the commission. So I'd like to know who was behind the 3rd proposal and why was it not shared with the public. I thought the township did a good thing by sharing the 2 maps that were shared in those public meetings, but come to find out just a week ago that there was actually a 3rd proposal that was never aired or shared, or the general public was not made aware of it. So can I get some kind of response on those questions, the errors in the map, and then who was behind that 3rd proposal and why it wasn't shared?
To be honest with you, I think your questions can be answered properly at a different body than this one. I think you would be better off asking the Board of Elections or asking the county. I don't think asking us, is the way to go.
Okay, well, I did file an OPRA request, and as part of the response to that OPRA request, the clerk's office informed me that you believe there's errors with the map. So that's why I'm here. I did hear subsequently from Tom Lynch at the Board of Elections, and he had his view on it, but I'm here to get your view on it, the Oldbridge Township view, because
if I could, yes. So again, I think at the beginning, the clerk indicated it's not a question and answer period, it's a comment period. To the extent that you've sent an OPRA request, it's been responded to, I'm not sure, you have your information. But again, it's a comment period, right? Not question and answer. If you want to send another OPRA request for additional documents, you can ask for that.
Okay. I took time out of my day to come here because I was concerned about the response to the OPRA request, and the questions that I asked in response to that response have not been answered. So that's
so again, why even with an OPRA request, it's for documents, right? Not for information.
Right. Understood. I'm just, it's very alarming to hear that there might be errors in the final map that was submitted. So that's why I'm here. I'm out of concern. I'm here to help, and I'd like some answers. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else in the public who wishes to be heard this evening? Seeing no hands, then I'll close the public portion and we'll go to council member comments.
Councilmember DePalma?
Yes. So as we close in on spring, but it seems like Mother Nature might have more plans for us tomorrow with a little bit of winter coming. Just to remind folks, Mr. Shaw spoke about the leaf pickup. just for folks to familiarize yourself with the township services, such as brush pickup, our recycling center, and what you can and cannot bring there. Obviously all that stuff is free of charge, and other services we offer. So please, before you call out to someone to get a pickup that you have to pay for, look on the township's website to see what services we have. It sometimes is as simple as just going to the recycling center and just dropping it off, right? As opposed to calling a garbage hauler and having them charge you. Also, please be safe as you're working in those yards. I know spring is coming. I catch myself as well thinking I can do a lot more than I used to 10, 15 years ago. So please, everyone, just be safe as you kind of do that spring cleanup. Other thing is, so yesterday, the mask restrictions were lifted in the schools. The one thing I would ask is that all residents, regardless if you wish to wear a mask or not wear a mask, that's a personal decision. That's a decision that each and everyone makes. Please be courteous to each other. It doesn't matter if you want to wear one or not. That's a personal decision. All I ask is folks, just please be courteous to everybody, and that's a decision they have to make. That's a decision they will make based off their own health and their own decisions. Also, congratulations to the Silver Lining Senior Center as well. Great award. That's why, obviously, as Himanshu had said, the mayor, Matt, and Anna are down there accepting the award. And as always, please be safe on the roads. Return safely, right? As I always say, a couple minutes, couple seconds is not going to make a difference. Thank you.
Mr. Desai? No comment? Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, real quick. Again with the police. Say a prayer for our police, firemen, volunteers, the ambulance squad, everybody out there. Please keep saying prayers for them, and also have a happy and safe St. Patty's Day next week. No drinking. Thank you.
Dr. Greenberg-Belli?
Yes. First of all, I would ask for everyone to keep Ukraine and the innocent people that are enduring the tragedy of a provoked attack in your thoughts and your prayers. Also, I would like to thank Virginia Utter for all her efforts at the Lawrence Harbor Beach front, for practicing TNR and caring for the feral cat population down there. There were initially over 20 feral cats that she had identified in this colony, and because of her efforts over the years and caring for them every day, 365 days, they are now down to only 4 cats. So that's a great thing. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Jim Morrison and Miss Elaine Brodsky for their effort throughout town, and they partnered with Whispering Pines, which I would like to thank that community, the residents and the homeowners association, that they stepped forward and they realized the importance of controlling the feral cat population in that area, and for practicing TNR. So it can be done by attrition. You're saving lives of hundreds of kittens being born that will not be born if you practice TNR, and it really makes a difference. Also, we participated, frequented the Charity Bowl at the Ulbridge Elks, and I would like to thank the Elks for a wonderful charity bowl that they did in honor of the special needs children. It is amazing, their dedication and their commitment to the community, and we're grateful. We enjoyed the charity bowl so much, and we'd like to congratulate the Ambassador of the Year, Anthony A.J. Silvestri, who's a junior at Ulbridge High School, and he's such a gentleman. He's way beyond his years. What he's already accomplished in his young life is phenomenal, and he's really an inspiration to us all. And also congratulations to the Citizen of the Year, Sergeant Major Michael Hughes, and thank you for his service. Also, as the clerk has said, we do have a special election, and I would, in Ward 4, and I encourage everyone to look at the records. Mark Rizzoli has been a strong advocate of our senior community and of the youth. He supports public safety as a priority where we can all live in peace and feel safe in our own hometown, and he stabilized taxes. He has a record. His opponent has raised taxes every year while the person has been on the Board of Ed. They closed a Cheese Square school under false premises, And also, they sold property to a developer, which now she's lamenting about the project. But she was the one who signed off on selling that project. So I would really wish that everyone takes records into account when they look at individuals, make sure that they are telling the truth, because if they're not telling the truth when they're campaigning, they're not going to tell the truth to you at any other time. So thank you for going out, making the effort, March 22nd, for those who aren't aware of it, Ward 4, it is a special election, and it's especially important for those that live in Ward 4 and all of Ulbridge. And of course, a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day to everyone. Enjoy.
Mr. Pescitti.
I just want to thank Dr. Greenberg for that report, especially on the TNR, because you really don't hear about that, and people do ask, so it's good.
I would like to say that there are individuals in town that go around and try to make people understand about it and will assist with it, but it's really just based on all volunteers. It's just not calling up and saying, we have feral cats. You have to participate in the trapping of them and getting them to a place where there's low-cost spay and neuter, but it really makes a difference.
That's great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Mr.
I thought this body, once we get elected, we are serving the people. We are not serving our party. So please do not politicize.
That's why I said what I did, because I want to serve the people.
We can say generally, please go out and vote. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
Yes, I'm excited to announce we broke ground at Menino Park on our 2 pickleball courts that were approved last year in the budget. We have 4 more pickleball courts set to go in again this year for a total of 6 at Menino Park. Hopefully they'll be done by September, I'm hoping. Also, I want to thank all our volunteers in town, but unfortunately, people have busy lives right now, and they need volunteers. So please check your area, because we have 4 different fire districts in Ulbridge, and see where you live. They're looking for volunteers right now. So if you're available, it would be nice if you can give a few hours a week of your time to volunteer, because that's how our town is sustaining itself on the volunteers. Also, I want to congratulate Anna Hita-Feltz for her great job she did at the senior center. We won a big award that I think we're the only one in the state to win. She does a phenomenal job at the senior center. I mean, I've met a bunch of seniors, and they all talk about how she kept us going through the pandemic with the Zoom classes and the exercise and painting at home. One lady came up to me and she said, Debbie, she said, they'll bring the painting to you right to your house and you could paint at home. And people were just so impressed with her, and she does a phenomenal job. And I just want to thank Anna. And I just want to mention too that there was a rumor going around that the town council has sold property to build warehouses, and we voted on it, and it is not true. We don't vote to build on this board. That's the zoning and planning board. We have nothing to do with approving warehouses. We had nothing to do with that. And it was the Board of Ed that sold the property to build the warehouse. So it is not us. Thank you.
Council President Sohar.
Yes, I also wanted to congratulate Anna and Matt. I think it's absolutely unbelievable, the commitment that they've shown to our senior citizens, and they continue to show. And that's really they're such an important part of our community. And you always want to feel that they're being really taken care of properly. As far as the voting is concerned, I really strongly urge you to check voting records. They are very, very important. I realize we are here to serve all the people, but your record serves all the people. So please check those records and make sure you see who's voted to raise your taxes, who's voted to sell your land. Those are big, big issues. So don't, before you go out and vote, make sure you do look at that record, because that does represent each and every one of us. I hope everyone has a great St. Patrick's Day. Be careful and safe, and enjoy. Thank you.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call. Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Desai, Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Mr. Pescitti,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar. Motion adjourned.